So guys, when we talk about metabolic pathways, where these metabolic pathways are taking place? Yes, they are taking place in cells. And one of the most fundamental features of these cells is that they are not working in isolation. They are part of a community which is constituted of their neighboring cells, their neighboring environment. For a cell to survive, and in turn for an organism to survive, it have to communicate, it have to be sensitive of its environment, have to feel its environment, and this feeling, this stimulation by the environment, what is known as the cellular signaling. The cell signaling is the most fundamental feature of cell. We can't survive without cell signaling. Whatever we do is one way or the other because of cell signaling. Yes, you can say it's because of the metabolic pathways. I mean, I'm doing this, it's because of the metabolic pathway, because I'm using energy for this metabolic pathway. But that energy is coming because of signaling. The cell receives certain signaling that Dr. Ammad have to raise his hand. So that is why it's a fundamental part of biology, also part of cell biology, also to discuss cellular signaling, to understand cellular signaling. That is why we are touching this part in the biochemistry also. This is a subject of biochemistry, metabolic biochemistry, but because of the importance of cellular signaling in the biochemical pathways, in the metabolism, it is important that we have an overview at least of the signaling, different signaling pathways or different signaling mechanisms. You will study in detail about the cellular signaling in a separate course, that is cell biology. Here we will just touch some parts of the cell signaling so that you can really understand how cell signaling is important for the metabolic pathways. So cell signaling, why it's important? Because I have already mentioned that it makes you know about your environment. Whatever you're doing is because of your interaction with the environment. For instance, I mean, just take a very, very crude example, very, very raw example, that it is winter, I am wearing this coat. Why I'm wearing it, by the way? Why you are wearing your jackets? Or why you don't wear such jackets when it is summer? The reason is that your body asks you to wear this. Why your body asks you? Because the receptors on the skin of your body feel that it's very cold and it asks you, then you have to then respond accordingly. So this is the importance of cellular signaling. That's why it's important for cell survival. But you can say, okay, if I don't wear a jacket, I can still remain in home, I can use a heater whatsoever. Okay, what about an animal which is living outside? What about an animal which is living in water? What if the temperature goes to freezing? I mean, it has to respond accordingly. That is the importance of cell signaling. Cell have to elicit signaling, initiate signaling for its own survival, not only for performing one function or the other, for its very survival. It's important. Even the single cell organisms, which are not a single cell protozoan, for example, don't have a, I mean, it doesn't have a community of cells as our cells have, but still it has to respond to the environment, and that's why the signaling is important for them also. As far as the functioning of the cell signaling is concerned, it collects different information from the environment, and these are information received by the cells, for instance, in the form of certain signaling molecules, which we will see in detail in coming lectures, and it in turn triggers an appropriate reaction. Some of the key signaling processes which are important for our very survival actually is the timing of the cell division. I mean, let's say when I was a zygote, you are a zygote, And from zygote, there came the development of which led to whole embryonic development, and then the fetal stage, and then you are born. So all this is indispensable for your very survival. The timing of the division of the cells, which led from one cell zygote to billions of cell organism, a cell made up of billions of cells, it needed signaling events. Then cells have to migrate also, and that migration again is very important for developmental stages. You are only a circular cell and then circular shape, blastula, I mean, and then neurula became, and then you went into becoming a adult embryo and then a fetus. Again, this all is because of the migration of the cells. And migration of the cells, even at this moment, is also important in my body. If I have an inflammation, cells have to move towards the infectious area. Migration is very important all the time. Again, it involves signaling. Cell death. Yes, you can say, oh, it's not a good thing for our body. But cell death is also very important. What if you don't need cells? What about the cancer cells? What about the infected cells? They have to die. So cell death, again, is because of the initiation of another signaling pathway or signaling cascade, which leads to apoptosis or cell death. It's a very relevant, I mean, relevance is a very small word, I would say. The whole biology, cell biology, is because whole cell biology is one way or the other. It depends upon our understanding of the cellular signaling. So developmental biology, of course, it's the most, I mean, it totally depends upon cellular signaling, but still, you take any example of any shoot of the cell biology, whether it's embryology, whether it's developmental biology, whether it's tissue biology, whether it's cancer biology, whatever, they all depend upon our understanding of the cellular signaling. Cell signaling is not simply you take a signal, a receptor receive a signal, and the cell respond accordingly. It is a very, very complex process. There are hundreds of thousands of, I mean, genes which are giving rise to, which are encoding proteins. We have 25,000 almost genes, and they are encoding at least the same number of proteins, of course, because of different modifications. The protein number goes to 100,000 actually from our genes. And then there is these proteins then give rise to different signaling events, which makes these things even more complicated. I mean, those cells have to be very, very these events of cellular signaling have to be very well controlled, very well regulated. For instance, you can take the example of acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter, but it is not that it's all the time is affecting your brain only, or activity of your brain only, or it's only produced in the brain only. They also occurs in the junctions of the neurons and giving rise to the nerve impulses. And then it also occurs in the your cardiac system, and it controls the rhythms of your heart, the heartbeat or heart rate, and it also is secreted by your saliva. It's also is controlling the secretion of your saliva by the salivary glands. So in this way, one acetylcholine is giving rise to different mode of effects. So you can, think about the diversity of the responses from one such molecule, and there are many such molecules or many different molecules, and they can initiate all sorts of responses. So this should make you to really think about the complexity of the cell, the complexity of the signaling events which are taking place, and how wonderful is our cellular system, our cellular homeostasis, that our cell is successfully performing all these signaling events. It's not easy, and we will see how or through what mechanism these events are produced or performed. the signaling events and how they are regulated.